Business case for deploying multi-language video. My name is David Orban. I'm the CEO of Dotsub, and I will be the moderator for this panel. And what we will do is to talk very specific examples and experiences of how multilingual video has been able to enhance the value of assets with our clients and partners, and how these assets then generated value to their stakeholders. And we will have a first wave of introductions and just letting you understand our panelists and where they are coming from. They're all very different from each other in the way they use video. And then we will go back and I will ask them additional questions concerning what they found to be especially interesting, intriguing, or exciting about things that they found that maybe didn't think would be possible before. After about half an hour, we will stop, and I hope that there will be questions from the audience. I know my friend Michael in the first row will have a question that will last 15 minutes if we don't stop him, and it won't have a question mark at the end, so we will
throw out hecklers.
we will just watch out for that. So let's start from the farthest end of the table. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Thanks, David. I'm Mark Osofsky. I'm the SVP of Marketing at Linebridge. If you're not familiar with Linebridge, we're one of the largest translation companies in the world. We're about $500 million revenue public company based in Boston. The reason I'm here is we're seeing our clients really move into video in a large way. And we help our clients not just with translation, but executing global digital marketing campaigns. And video is becoming a dominant media type through both web, social, mobile delivery. So I'm going to share some of the things that we're doing with them and what we're learning from them.
Thank you. Santi.
Very good. I'm Santiago Muto. I'm the COO of Wobi. It's a world of business ideas. And we're a leading multimedia and information company that delivers management content for executives. So we're the producers of large management events like the World Business Forum that happens here at Radio City Music Hall for 5,000 executives. We do that around the world as many other events. We also have a management TV channel called Wobi TV. We have a management journal called Wobi Magazine, and it's primarily distributed in Spanish and Portuguese. And also we have our online platform, wobi.com, where we've taken 20 years of archive and new productions in terms of video content and made them available for everybody. And I think that's where we're going to focus a little bit more. We've pretty much translated all that content into Spanish, English, and Italian.
Thank you. And Tim?
Hi, I'm Tim Tyler. I am a manager with Coldwell Banker University, which is part of Coldwell Banker, the largest real estate franchising network in the United States. And we've been involved with video going all the way back to 1933 when a fellow by the name of Henderson Talbot founded a company called Previews International that filmed movie stars' houses and the big estates out on Long Island and in the Hamptons and so forth, and previewed those at exclusive screenings for wealthy buyers. Forward yourself, 70, 80 years now, and a $125,000 house in central Alabama can end up on our YouTube channel. What a difference the world has made. I'm specifically involved in the training side of it, so the videos that I work with are primarily training videos, and we do translations of those for our international master franchises. These are new franchisees who are trying to bring our brand into, we're currently in 50 nations worldwide, and we're looking to expand that. So we provide training videos for them to help them get started in their local markets, and that's where my involvement with translation of video comes.
Thank you. And let me tell you, of course, a little bit also about Dotsub, which is the platform that makes all of this possible. Dotsub is a technology company. Our platform is completely cloud-based. Simply in a browser, people can upload videos, or we can interface with enterprise-class online video platforms like Brightcove, Uyala, Kaltura, and others, but also with consumer platforms like YouTube. And these can be time-coded, captioned, and translated extremely easily at a cost that is a fraction of what was possible before. The approach that we take to creating these varies, of course, depending on the client or partner that we are engaging with. Speech recognition-based technologies are available, as well as machine translation, but of course, the quality that these approaches provide is extremely poor. The error rates are very high. That is why universally our enterprise clients use either the approach of a professional translation, or in some cases actually a crowd-based approach where if they have passionate followers worldwide in various language markets, once the captions are available, anybody can go in and make the translation available in some local language. We also, of course, evolve our platform in additional directions to make sure that we cover the various opportunities that the life cycle of digital video assets enables, both online and offline. And maybe we will have the opportunity of talk a little bit about the future as well, because with new types of devices, with new types of markets that are not necessarily always connected yet, these are very interesting ways that video can play a role for everybody, driving superior engagement, brand recognition, and adding value to the video assets that are extremely precious and also expensive to produce. So let's go back and restart our wave a little bit. Mark, would you like to tell me more in detail your client's approach to video, and how from what you did before to what you can do now things changed, and what you expect from that?
Yeah, we're seeing some common patterns. I'm sure you guys are facing this in your companies. The most common pattern we're seeing is companies starting to create their own video production studios in-house. So taking that away from outside agencies. And that internal group, that video production group, is creating videos for marketing, for support, for internal training, corporate communications. Some of our clients have their own green screens. They're even hiring people away from agencies who are managing these. So they're getting fairly sophisticated. And a lot of these guys are boring B2B software companies. So these aren't hip consumer companies. So that surprised me a bit, how fast that wave is happening for the video creation. And so the challenge they're all facing is they're creating this video, and if they do need to translate it, both for internal, global operations, customers and support, they're faced with a traditional approach which is too slow and too costly. So the traditional approach for video translation, you take it, you'd send it, have some professional voice talent, do a voiceover. That's way too expensive. They may have tried the opposite end of the spectrum and used Google Translate to do some quick and dirty subtitles, and they get flooded with complaints, and they stop doing that. So they're looking for something in the middle, right? How can I get something with very fast turnaround time, that's at a very competitive price point, and that has varying degrees of quality depending on the end use for it. So if it's internal use only, subtitling's fine. I just want it fast and cheap. If it's going to be customer facing, I'd rather have some voiceovers. So that's what we're seeing. I don't know if that's consistent with some of you guys are seeing in your own companies. Some are setting targets for percent of content that needs to be video. So there's a lot of corporate departments saying 20% of all corporate communications needs to be video now. So companies are setting targets like that. The other challenge they're facing is the impact video content has on cycle time to release products. So a lot of companies are going to a global simultaneous shipment of new products. And if you've got video content spread throughout that entire launch of the product and it needs to be translated, that's now becoming the critical path for a lot of these product launches. And so many companies are facing delays of many weeks right now because they can't get video translated fast enough to do the launch, to catch up with mature processes they have around text. So that's what we're seeing.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Santi, I think before we had a conversation, you mentioned for you specifically, this new approach represented a way of getting into markets more quickly, just like Mark mentioned, the workflow that enables to meet the needs of your audience more rapidly.
Totally. So 80% of our content, it's originally in English. So we have a big presence in Latin America. So being able to translate or have a captioning of all our video has been key in terms of just penetrating very quickly and reaching those audiences. We're seeing a very rapid growth and consumption in Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, and Argentina currently in those markets. So the other trend that's very interesting is that we're seeing that most of those markets are Spanish speakers are consuming the content originally in English, but with subtitles in Spanish. So we're keeping, again, we're seeing that it's a very affluent audience, the ones we have is senior executive decision makers, but we're seeing that they're trying to kind of improve their English as well by watching the content in the original source. So that's, for us, is very interesting right now.
Thank you. And expanding to new markets and satisfying the needs of stakeholders in ways that wasn't possible before, of course, is a great way to demonstrate the business case for an approach. Tim, what did you find with respect of the adoption of video in terms of your training materials at Caldwell University internationally?
Internationally, when we bring on a new franchise overseas, they're usually, in some cases, they may be an existing business. Most often, they're a complete startup. So they're a very small business with very little resources to work with on their own. So they're looking to us for every bit of help that they can to get started within their market. So for us to be able to provide video and to provide video that's translated into their language is a big plus for them and a big help in moving themselves towards recruiting new agents and bringing those agents up to speed within their market. There's times when certain markets are very, very keen to use our materials. One of the things we find, however, is that real estate isn't the same around the world. There's a lot of regulatory differences between the United States and other countries. So some places are much better able to adapt our materials than others. But certainly everybody wants to have a look at that, wants to be able to see that and to see if they can use that.
Very good. Mark, you observed that your clients not only want videos for online, but also for offline use. And you are taking advantage of the Dotsub platform's features to satisfy that demand, right?
Right.
How does that integrate the various pieces that we mentioned? There are ways that subtitled video can be leveraged in a process that takes into account the life cycle of the video and the various types of uses.
Right. Yeah, I think what we're seeing from a lot of our clients is they've got a video asset. They want to use it in multiple ways. They're not even sure, exactly all the different ways they're going to deliver it. The key is they want it done very quickly and efficiently. And so we did an evaluation of the marketplace and selected Dotsub as a partner, as a technology enabler of rapid video translation. And so our general process with clients is we'll take a source video, run it through the platform, get the caption transcript done, and then that goes out to our professional translators and leverages translation memories and glossaries and all sorts of traditional techniques And then that can be embedded in an MP4, or it can be used through the player integrations that Dotsub has. So that enables our clients in a matter of a few days to have the translated video for offline use or online. So I think you're going to see that as sort of a best practice. Take a video and translate it in a method that can be used across any platform, especially as these grow.
Thank you. And Santiago, you have been able to discover new things, new markets, a new approach that, given the way you leveraged your assets with the English translation and English subtitles, you wouldn't have expected to find before in a completely different language community, right?
Yeah, exactly. And what we've been seeing, it's a lot right now, is that with the platform we currently have, we've been able, I think collaboration has been key in this, reaching kind of our niche market. We have a pilot case right now with it's a German language service company. What we've done is we've licensed some of our content to them. They've done the translation. They've used it privately for a year. And now after a year, we're gonna receive those translations and make them available to the entire audience. And then we're also doing some progress with a Chinese magazines that want to kind of use our content for their market. And that's a way of partnering with different people and different markets. It's a way to rapidly reach what we call niche markets. We would never go on our own. For finding local people that are willing to translate all our content for their kind of private use for a period of time, it's leveraging us and giving back all those assets and just have them already translated. So it's been very successful so far with the different test projects that we've done.
Tim, the advantage of the Dotsub platform for you, if I'm not mistaken, has been that of a great level of flexibility. You told me an anecdote about how you have been able to satisfy some picky franchisees overseas, right?
Sure. So our relatively new franchise in Spain has been very interested in bringing in not so much training videos, but recruitment videos to begin to build his staff of sales associates. And so we've been providing them with these recruitment videos. And a little oddity, I don't know if I'm the only one who will find this ironic, but our Spanish franchise is owned by a British gentleman. And I've been working with a French gentleman, both of them located in the city of Barcelona, which speaks Catalan. And they're sitting here micromanaging the translation of video into Iberian Spanish, because they don't want to make sure there's no Latin American Spanish in here. This is such as the world that we live in.
Yes.
So with the materials that we've had from Dotsub, we've been able to go in and make on-the-fly changes to the translation from the translator who likely was here in this part of the world to adapt to a more Iberian form of Spanish.
And I think that is wonderful. The flexibility and the speed with which these steps can be executed on modern platforms like Dotsub is really unprecedented. And those enterprises and those holders of assets, video or not, that can take advantage of this speed will really be able and execute faster, innovative solutions and get ahead, being able to compete in a sustainable manner as opposed to organizations that don't feel that they are ready to embrace modern solutions. I would also like to add to the fact that you said with regards of the multicultural nature of your work, Dotsub is also a globally distributed company. We have our developer team in Ottawa. We have our headquarters here in New York. I myself commute between Milan, Italy, and New York, and we have our operations in Argentina, Buenos Aires. So I was on the phone, or Google Hangouts actually, with our operations team just a few days ago, and they were asking me about some new developments deadline. And I told them, oh, no, it's pretty close. It will be before the end of the summer. And I saw them on the video screen kind of freezing and saying, what's the problem? They said, oh my God, that's more than a year, or almost a year from now, they said. I said, no, it's just 3 months. Well, we are accustomed of thinking about time zones, but it is seldom that we realize that there is a northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere difference in seasons. So when I was saying at the end of the summer, I was referring to the northern hemisphere with some bias, and they were taking it from their local point of view, and it was just very, very, very interesting.
This is one of the reasons why machine translation doesn't really work, is because there's all sorts of cultural differences that are held into language, even the translation of Spanish.
Yeah.
You know,
and different markets, Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela, it's not a total different language, but it's
quite different.
Quite different.
And so, you know, those are the kinds of things that having an actual human translator can capture and convey the proper meaning, and not just the word for word.
I totally agree. Machine translation is progressing rapidly, and of course that is the bread and butter of what Mark's company is doing. But we fully believe that there is always value to be added. We are working with Publicis, division of Publicis, Razorfish Healthware, in a joint venture called Vidium, where actually on top of machine translation, crowd translation, professional translation, we provide an even higher level of translation which certifies the content, medical, legal, and regulatory review, so that if there's a pharmaceutical company that provides the registration of a key opinion leader at a medical conference, and they say, oh, this is perfectly fine in French because we work in Canada and we know it, well, that is not necessarily the case. In France, the availability of that video in French could become a liability instead of an asset, a promotion. So that kind of value-added approach, I think it is very important. So before we close for questions, or break for questions, Mark, what do you think is the future of video, and in particular multilingual video, is going to be in terms of different devices? Would you like to comment on that a little bit?
I think there'll be more video than there is today. Yeah, I think obviously there's, none of us are going to predict the future here, but I think the one trend that we're starting to see, which may not be on your guys' radar screens, is the shift in content marketing. If you're in the marketing realm, there's just been this whole shift from a brand push message to more of a consumer pull, and having everything be more SEO centric and have that driving content. Big companies haven't gotten there yet. They're just starting to move there, and video hasn't fallen into that work stream yet. So, a specific example would be, instead of trying to raise their search rankings in Germany by creating their own content and pushing it out and translating it, they would flip it and they'd figure out their keywords in German, crowdsource the creation of videos locally in German, right, and use those videos to drive the content marketing in those markets. So I think that shift we're going to start seeing, for companies in a broader sense. So that's one trend that I'll stick my neck out and predict. Yeah.
Thank you. And Santiago, you have mentioned us different things of surprising trends that you have been able to leverage with the use of multilingual video and Dotsub's platform. Do you see anything coming up in the future that you want to take advantage of? Mobile devices, tablets are playing a role in your audience's lives. Is your platform going to evolve? For example, if I'm not mistaken, you have a television channel in South America. How do you see those different components coming together for Wobby?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot more video coming in the future. Obviously, mobile is great. One of our TV channel is distributed in Latin America, and growing through all the different networks, it's really a slow process. So the next steps that we're seeing, it's partnering with companies and just going kind of online distribution. I think the best way to go global, we're working with some Indian partnerships and Chinese partnerships to try to kind of explore. Obviously, the next trend that we have to have, it's the crowdsourcing, as I mentioned, collaboration. It's working with local people, kind of translating all the content, and finding the right partner is key here, just in order to kind of move quickly into all the different markets. So I think it's mobile, everybody's going mobile, and then also collaboration.
Mm-hmm. I can second that in terms of everyone going mobile. In the United States, realtors' average age is 52. And yet the iPhone and the iPad have been taken up with such rapidity within our industry that we're scrambling to catch up with our agents in the field. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually took a look at Coldwell Banker's YouTube channel just the other day. I would invite you to go there. It is a very interesting personalization of how a YouTube channel can look. Would you like to describe it briefly? Just mention it for our audience.
Sure. Our YouTube channel, which is called On Location, currently houses at any given point in time about 50,000 videos. Most of those are property videos. Some of them are also videos of an agent or a particular office branding themselves on the channel. And this is one of the areas that we feel is the biggest growth in our industry. 90% roughly of our customers, you folks who would go out and buy a house, you want to see video when you're looking for a house, or if you want that video out there when you're trying to sell your house. At present, less than 20% of the agents in the world are using video. So there's obviously enormous room for growth here, and that's one of the things that we see. In terms of translation, that's also sort of the next frontier. Right now, we're really only translating video for internal use. It'll start in the luxury market, where obviously there's a strong incentive to translate videos of luxury properties. And even, the next step will be, there's a sizable number of Asian American and Hispanic American realtors out there working in communities that are predominantly Asian or Hispanic American. And so we'll see that be sort of the second step in translation of video within our world. But the internal world is there now. The direct-to-consumer world is coming, definitely.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mark and Santi and team, for these very interesting and I hope stimulating remarks. So I would like to open up for questions. I don't know, do we have a microphone for the audience? Because the session is being recorded, and if we don't have a microphone, that is fine. Just please raise your hand, ask your question, and then I will repeat the question so that the recording can also be made. But I see the microphone coming up. So, any question from the audience with regards of what we said? There it is. Couldn't you say your name and your affiliation?
Sure. Hello? Working? Okay. So my name is Jeff Harley. I'm a product manager at lynda.com. We do video training for a variety of subjects. What's the name of the company? Lynda.com, Lynda. So I'm curious, how do you guys decide whether or not to translate something? Because we have a big video library, and some of it's really technical, which might be kind of hard to translate, but some of it is, we do some documentaries, and so we're kind of thinking maybe we should translate those. So I'm curious, like, for the business case, like the topic of this, how do you guys make that business case to say, yeah, we're going to spend the money to translate this particular set of videos or not?
Sure. Santi, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, in our case was easy. I think we decided that obviously English and Spanish were core markets, and that's where our offices are and operations are. We also have an operation in Italy. That's why the Italian was added later. But that was, we made the decision to invest and translate everything that we had in those two languages. And now what we're doing is working with partners to try to lower the cost in what we call niche markets. And that could be India, that could be China, that could be Germany, just to kind of expand the availability of our videos in those local languages.
Tim, do you have any?
Ours is entirely demand driven, so we've tried pushing out some video, and what we've learned from that, subtitling isn't always really welcomed. Our French affiliate is only interested in dubbing and has no interest whatsoever in subtitling. So we've really focused on when a new franchisee comes on board, we let them know it's available, and then we allow them, or we wait for them to ask for material, basically.
And I would like to ask that from the point of view of Dotsub, the best way to assess that need comes from actually your website statistics, because you have access, if the videos are publicly available, to your visitor analytics, and if you look at those, you can discover some amazing stats. So, for example, here on this slide, you see a video that was originally in German, that is the source language spoken in the video, that was uploaded to Dotsub. It's a 6-minute investigative journalism piece that talks about whatever happens in the European Parliament, where members of the Parliament go in, then leave, and still take the money that they wouldn't deserve. And so this video has been translated into Czech and French, and like 6 months later, after the video had a few thousand views per month in German, it accumulated over 3 million views, over a third of which was in French, and almost a quarter was in Czech. And as you see, there are languages like Dutch and Slovak and Slovenian and whatnot, and the original German became only 10%. And this is a great example. Another example is a 2-hour-long documentary that has been translated in, I don't know, over 50 languages on Dotsub. And originally in English, this documentary probably would have had some additional views in non-English by non-English viewers as well. But now, after the fact, we know that 87% of the views are by non-English speakers with subtitles that are in a language different than English. And this would have been lost if the possibility of those languages were not there. Could you pass the microphone to the first row here? Was there a question? This gentleman would like to add something. I will try to keep him short.
Yeah,
Can you tell your name and affiliation?
Michael Smolens, and I'm the founder and chairman of Dotsub. I'm sure you know Adobe TV. Adobe has a community translation portal. So one way to do it is to let the market decide. And then if you want, and then the market, so you could have people that are translating Linda videos, a lot of which are on Adobe TV, into different languages. And then when you see that there's a large Czech or Swahili or Urdu interest, then you could go and focus on that market. Because it's a really good, easy way to do market testing before you invest your money into a market to see what the crowd wants. And so there's all kinds of different possibilities for that.
Thank you, Michael. And we have a question in the back there. There was. But there wasn't? Okay, let's have this gentleman in the first row.
Hi, Brian Smiga, Alpha Venture Partners.
Oh, okay.
The economics piece we haven't heard from you guys today. So as best you can you put into dollars and cents and numbers what it means for an organization to get 20% of their content into video, or what it means to get it into translated video? Because I think some of the people in the audience are trying to make economic cases to their companies and organizations to get their videos captioned or to get them translated, but we didn't hear any dollars and cents yet. I know that's difficult, but it would be interesting to hear.
And maybe, you know, if you have absolute numbers to give, that's great, but if you have relative numbers with respect of previous approaches that you have attempted and then only could go so far because they were less effective than now.
Right. Yeah, I can give a couple examples from our clients. So, I mean, the way to think about the business case is you have to think about the specific use case for it. So there's no generic, you know, business case for video translation. So let's talk about support use case. So a lot of our clients are trying to shift their telephone inbound call volumes to self-service, right? So for most companies, it's over $100 for every phone call they try to answer. Video is becoming the dominant method to provide, you know, support information to people to resolve issues. So most companies have done that in the U.S. if they're U.S.-centric, and they haven't done it globally. So in their highest cost labor markets in Western Europe, for example, to try to support in-country people, you know, it's killing them in terms of support costs. So we've been running a number of business case pilot projects with them for chat, forums, and video, and deflecting call volumes at significant levels, right? So you're, depending on the, you know, total views you're getting, the cost to satisfy folks is going from, you know, roughly $100 to, you know, a few dollars. So we've got a couple clients that have already saved $5 to $10 million annually by translating videos for support applications. So that's one example.
Yep.
Yeah. I would say in our case, what we're trying to do, as I mentioned before, we focus on the markets and the languages that we're in. And the other thing, what we're trying to do right now, it's expand to other languages, but pretty much what Michael was saying, it's let the market decide. It's really kind of inbound and seeing also kind of combined with a marketing approach. If we find a partner where we can put some marketing dollars towards, let's say, I don't know, Chinese language or Mandarin, then we're going to invest to translate those things. We're not just translating and then figuring out the marketing strategy behind it or sales strategy behind that.
I'll put a little bit of a different spin on this in that we look at more the opportunity cost here, because we're not the only real estate franchise in the world that's trying to expand worldwide. And so we're trying to bring in these small franchises or somebody to build a franchise from the ground up in a particular country. And they're looking for all the resources that we can give them to help them get started. And if we're not doing that, one of my competitors will. So for us, it's a matter of providing the resources that are needed to build that business in that location, and this is a key part of that.
And from our point of view, definitely it is the case that we have seen clients quote an order of magnitude of savings with respect of what they were able to do with previous approaches and previous ways of doing what we do. And this is, unfortunately, this doesn't mean that they necessarily do 10 times as much as before, you know? We are not capturing the 100% of the market that was there before, but there is an order of magnitude more content that gets translated that wouldn't have been before. It is really about broadening the pyramid to different kinds of content, and there are huge markets to be approached. You know, we mentioned China, and of course it is the best example everybody always brings up, but Indonesia, Malaysia, the Indian subcontinent, African countries, even if we forget about the normal EFIGs, which has been the traditional group of languages that in localization somebody 10 or 20 years ago would do, English, French, Spanish, German, and Italian, they should be a given. But we can think of many, many others that are becoming economically viable because of how effective the new approach is.
And I think also to that, consumer engagement with your brand is exponentially higher when you take the time to communicate with people in their native dialects and their native languages, even if they do speak English as a second language. But I think as a very clear indication, if you take a look at the cost of creating a value-added video, I'm not talking about holding your cell phone up and shooting it yourself. If you have a scriptwriter, a cameraman, a lighting man, and an editor, it costs you between $3,000 and $5,000 per minute to make a video. For 1 or 2% of the cost of creating the video, at the time you create it, you could, with professional translation, make it available in 12 languages that represent 85 to 90% of the internet connected world. So with an increase in cost of content creation, you're increasing the audience by an order of magnitude for 2% more. And that's not a very difficult number to justify in any kind of an ROI analysis.
And I think that is the perfect way to close our session. You are here because you have video assets and you want to understand how to bring them to the world. The closer you make these considerations that we are doing now in terms of platform and budgets and ROI to the moment of the creation of the video, the better you are off, both in terms of defining those budgets, but also in terms of best managing the video assets themselves. We are already planning things for the future that we will make available for you in the Dotsub platform. We heard about languages, voice dubbing. Dotsub is beta testing approaches that leverage text-to-speech engines, but also crowdsourcing dubbing as it is possible to crowdsource other activities, as well as new approaches to creating videos with huge added value. And it is our job to communicate to you what is possible, and I think it is your job to take it home to your companies, to your enterprises, and really run with them, as Michael said, with a little forethought, and just a few percentage points added at the moment of the creation of the video. You really open up the entire world for them. Thank you very much.